Okay, great. So good morning, everybody, and it's great to get this opportunity to make a pitch, as it were, for law and taxation at NUI Galway. I mean, following on from a lot of what Conor said, I think a good starting point for this is that if you're interested in law, but perhaps you're not sure yet you want to be a lawyer as such, you might be more interested in getting exposure to other topics and subject matter that you can combine with law. And taxation is one of those subject matters. And if you opt for this degree, you're going to get a combination of what Conor outlined as a full law degree, which means you can, if you only think you like law, and then you discover you really love it and you want to continue down the law route, you can go ahead and leverage, if you like, this full law degree. But during your path of the 4 years, 3 or 4 years here, you'll also be exposed to other aspects of business, around accounting, economics, etc., and various options around those. But the big one you'll get a significant level of exposure to this degree is taxation. And I work in the business school myself, and tax is my main area. And I can assure you that if you can combine the legal eyes and the legal perspective with taxation, you won't be out of work for probably ever, and hopefully have a very exciting career ahead. And the ability in that context to interpret tax legislation is key. So we just hop on, next slide, Lisa, please. Okay, so what are taxes? Well, I'm not going to give you a big lecture on taxes. Suffice to say, a lot of people think it's a fairly bad word. However, taxes are what we pay for, as this guy said, a civilized society. In the middle of the slide here, I've written revenue raising and based on legislation, and that's to let you know that straight off, legislation is what holds the whole tax system together, both in Ireland and across the world. And one of the primary reasons we have a tax system at all, or taxation, is to raise money, so that the government can be given that money, mind it for us, and spend it in such a way that we have this civilized society. And that's essentially what taxation is about. There are lots of arguments, lots of debate, lots of persuasion, to use the word that Conor referred earlier, around who should pay what. But at the end of the day, this module is going to expose you to what taxation is all about, and then it will let you see tax in action as it works its way through the courts, what we call revenue law. But it will open up your eyes, hopefully, to lots of opportunities where you can really, this is a rather niche area of expertise, but one of the reasons it was brought in is because it's an increasing in demand area of expertise. Okay, I'm in taxation a very, very long time. Any of my colleagues who want to be in taxation are working. But I want you to know that one of the most exciting things about this area is the 4 things that are mentioned here. I don't have time to go through them in detail, but we use the tax system as a way, for example, in Ireland, in trying to ensure maybe more wealthy people, some of their wealth is passed on to people who are not so wealthy. That's the redistribution. We also use taxation to drive certain behaviours. So, for example, if the government and society, if we generally don't want you to smoke or to drink to excess or whatever it is, or use plastic bags, we tax them. We tax that activity so that we try to stop you from doing it. And that has obviously the nice little consequence of raising revenue at the same time. Tax is also used as a serious economic tool, and I know you're probably not watching the same news that we guys are, but at the moment, tax is at the middle of a huge problem around housing. So, and first-time buyers, and the role of vulture capital funds, etc., etc. So economically, tax is at the core. And finally, tax is at the core of the provision of public goods. By that I mean the health system that we have, the education system that you guys get to enjoy, and hopefully will continue to enjoy if you come to NUI Galway, or indeed any other public university or institute of technology. And the tax system is at the core of the current, I guess, health provisions all around COVID. You know, we're all paying into the system that allows us to have a good health system. Maybe move on to the next slide, please, Lisa. So, yeah, why choose it? Well, it's a really, hopefully, even from that quick spin around those 4 areas, you'll see it's a crucial, important area of law and policy for all businesses, but it's for the country. It's where the economy and society come together through this lever of taxation. So it's really, really important, and it's not going away, guys. So this isn't like some high-flying idea. Very strong career prospects then come with that, and I'll give you a flavour of that in a moment, although it does overlap a little bit with what some of Conor said, but I'll put a bit more meat on the bone as to where you could end up, so to speak, if you go down this route. As a tax lawyer, then, you will get to work with legislation that is very often topical, as I said, at the moment, through things like the property crisis, but it receives an incredible amount of media attention. 25 years ago, when I was in taxation, nobody really talked about tax in the media. Now everybody's talking about tax in the media. It's even on social media. So it gets a lot of attention. You might have heard of a company called Apple. Apple is right at the center of a huge tax debate and a very contentious issue involving Ireland and the European Union. So you'll be right in the middle of it if that's what attracts you to it. The work is rewarding and interesting. Of course, everybody will say that. I'm passionate about taxation, and therefore I find it terribly interesting. But most people who go into tax, because it is a rather niche area, tend to be very passionate about it. And that's fantastic, because you're working with people who are all very enthusiastic about what they're doing. And there's great variety in terms of the different kinds of exposures that you can get. You can work with small business, large business, domestic business, businesses who trade internationally. And you yourselves, there's a very significant international element to all aspects of taxation. Hopefully, as Conor said, some of you will end up working abroad and traveling abroad in years to come. Will you have to pay taxes when you travel? And if you're running a small business and then you grow and you sell things outside of Ireland, well, where do you pay your taxes? If you're selling stuff through eBay, where does the tax get collected? So all these are interesting aspects of taxation, but they're all underwritten, if you like, by the legal system. So in the end, we can have all the social debates we like around this, but the legislation is key. And that's why your ability to combine that solid law degree with this specialist area really is a great opportunity, and yeah, one I'd advise. Push on there, Lisa, and I'll just 2 more quick slides to go through. So what kind of career options? So obviously what I would say is practice is one of the big ones, which is where you start to give advice to clients, right? So that's what we call tax practice. And that tends to happen in Ireland in either accountancy firms, big, large tax and accounting firms, but they also increasingly is happening in the law firms. So Conor already referred to Math and A&L, but Goodbody, all these firms, they have tax lawyers working in those organizations. But equally, there are increasingly opportunities for you to work in corporates. Large corporates are now hiring their own tax teams, including tax lawyers. So if you take a company like even, the Apples, the Googles, the Facebooks, LinkedIn, like they have very significant, a couple of those companies have in excess of 100 tax personnel working from Ireland at the moment. So this is big business. But equally, you can go the other side of the transaction and work for the revenue commissioners. They're the guys who collect the taxes, but also really the Department of Finance, because the Department of Finance have the tax legislators in there writing the laws. So that's the other side of the transaction, so to speak. The EU and the OECD offer numerous opportunities for you to work. So travel, I would say tax travels very, very well. As a discipline, it travels extremely well. And increasingly, there's great opportunities about trying to understand how all the different tax legislations across the world work when they crash up against each other. And because we're all traveling, because businesses are all doing business globally, this has also become very big business. And then just one final slide there, Lisa, is what are the attributes needed? I won't repeat the material that Conor went through necessarily, but I do want to emphasize one thing, which is about good communication here. Tax is a bit of a turn-off subject, let's be honest, for a lot of people. So the skill here is to be able to communicate tax without the jargon, without the complexity, without showing off, about being able to quote various chapters and verses of legislation. So good communication is a key strength of a prospective tax lawyer or somebody with a legal background working in taxation. Yes, it's great if you're comfortable with numbers, but you'll probably be working alongside lots of accountants and they're very comfortable with numbers. But you do need to be a details focused kind of person. Precision is what it's all about when it comes to taxation. So thanks guys for listening. That's a whistle stop tour. Really, really great opportunities for you. It is a niche area, but it's a very much a growing area with great opportunities. So thanks. Thanks, Lisa.